Hi, friends. This is Cynthia, and I am a member of the storytelling community at East Tennessee State University. I love telling stories, and I hope you love listening to stories. So, tonight or today, whenever you're choosing to listen to this, I have a very special version of a story that you may have heard before. This is my version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Once upon a time in a faraway land, there was a little princess. And she had no one in the entire world to care for her except a stepmother. Now, stepmothers can be wonderful, and they often are, but this stepmother, she wasn't so great. She was obsessed with being the most beautiful in the land because she hadn't figured out that being beautiful is okay, but being smart and being kind, that's even better. So she would watch little Snow White, who was called that name because she had the whitest skin, probably even whiter than mine. And she had beautiful jet black hair, and she had lips as red as blood. And she had been named Snow White when she was just a little bitty baby with the snow white skin, the black hair, and the red lips. Well, this queen, that's right, Snow White was a princess and her stepmother was a queen. She was afraid that Snow White was going to grow up to be so beautiful and she would take over the kingdom and she would send her far away. And because of that, she did everything she could to try to make Snow White less pretty and to break her spirit and make her unkind. So she dressed her in rags and she made her scrub floors and wouldn't let her wash up very often. And so she always had dirt on her and these raggedy clothes. And she was unkind to her. But no matter what, Snow White was always so grateful to have a place to live and to have food to eat, even if it wasn't very good and it was usually old and stale. She was always grateful. She was always kind. And as hard as it was, she always chose to forgive her stepmother. Well, it so happened that one day the queen noticed something. Snow White was truly growing into a beautiful young woman and more beautiful because of how kind she was. You see, that beauty that's deep down inside, that's real beauty. That's beauty that lasts. And that's what Snow White had and what her stepmother did not. So the stepmother had her huntsman come, and the huntsman usually would hunt wild game, and he knew the woods very well. So you see, she wanted Snow White to be taken far off into the woods and never to be seen from or heard from again. Well, the huntsman hated this idea. Like most everyone that Snow White knew, he loved her. She was good and she was kind. So he took her on a walk into the woods and he told her that they were going on a picnic. And when they had gotten very far deep into the woods and he knew that no one else had followed them, he said, "Oh, little princess, you must run far, far away, for your evil, wicked stepmother, the queen. Oh, she has terrible intentions towards you. And I was to leave you here and lost in the woods, but I've brought you to a special place where a special friend of mine will meet you. He is a very tiny little man, and he has 6 tiny little brothers, but they will take good care of you. But you must never, ever come back to the palace. You must completely abandon your rights to the throne if you ever wish to be safe." Snow White was not entirely surprised. She knew that her stepmother didn't like her, although she never quite knew why. She listened to the huntsman and she trusted him. And so he let her go and they parted ways. And he went back to the castle where he told the queen exactly what she wanted to hear, that Snow White was gone for good, never to be heard from again. But Snow White did meet a little man in the woods, a friendly little man who was so full of joy that she couldn't stay sad for very long. He had a long white beard. He kind of looked like a little miniature Santa Claus. And he was so kind to her, and he took her to his cottage far, far in the wood. And there she met his 6 brothers, all tiny little men, and they were all very kind. And they said that she could live there with them and they would keep her safe. And she was able to be washed up every day and have nice, clean clothes. She made wonderful things to eat, and she went for walks in the woods, although not too far, and typically not alone, for the dwarves were worried that somehow that queen would figure out that Snow White was still around. And they were right. You see, that wicked, wicked queen, she would go to her mystical mirror and she would say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall." And then the spooky spirit would show up and he would say, "Yes, my queen." Oh, it makes my skin crawl just to think about it. But she would ask, "Who is the fairest in the land?" And he would always tell her that it was her, because as far as the land was concerned, she was. You see, Snow White was right outside of the kingdom. But one day she was searching for berries and frolicking in the woods as a princess tends to do, and running around and playing with the animals, when she accidentally traipsed right back into the kingdom. And at that particular moment, the queen, she was looking into her mirror and she said, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" And that's when that mirror said, "Oh, queen, you are lovely by far, but only so far is your beauty." What did that mean? Queen didn't like the sound of that. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the loveliest one of all? Oh, queen, lovely thou art, but ugly inside is your foul heart. What was this mirror saying? How dare he speak to her in such a way? What did you say, mirror? Tell me again, who is the loveliest, the most beautiful in all the land? And the mirror said, "Queen, you are about to be dethroned, for your end is at hand." The queen was flying into a rage when she said, "Speak plainly to me, mirror." Deep in the wood at the edge of the land is a maiden more lovely than you could ever comprehend. No, the queen realized that huntsman, had he lied. What is her name? Tell me outright. Oh, queen, her name you know, for it is Snow White. The queen flew into such a rage, she threw her mirror, her handheld mirror that she always stared at to admire her beauty. She threw it straight into her magic mirror, and it shattered into 1,000 pieces. And then she set about her plan. She would disguise herself and she would find that princess and she would do away with her. She would get rid of her for good. You see, this wicked, wicked queen, she was also a wicked, wicked witch. And she went down into the depths of her dungeon and she looked for a spell book, a spell. She would do away with Snow White for good. And she looked on the pages and she saw, oh, the kiss of death. Yes. Why did I never think of this before? I could have done this and not even trusted any of my work to that huntsman. She was so thrilled with herself, and she was so caught up in the anger and the rage that crazy old queen, She took a potion and made herself, well, what it did was it took what was exactly deep down in her heart and brought it out to the surface. And when it did that, well, it made her uglier than ugly, for she was evil and ugly inside, and she was a grotesque and scary creature. And then she set out to take this beautiful red apple that had been poisoned with a spell, and she would find Snow White, and that would be it. And so out she went from the castle, down through the woods, then using her witchcraft, she found that cottage where Snow White was. And at this particular moment, while the dwarves were out doing their normal work, it takes a lot of work to keep up a house and take care of a princess. And here came the creepy old creature. Right as Snow White was standing at the window, making some beautiful pies and singing her lovely songs as she always did. And the birds are flying around because you know how birds and princesses kind of go right together. The singing and the birds and the chipmunks and the bunnies, and this shadow, a shadow fell over her. And right as she looked up, it took her breath. She had never seen anyone so grotesquely hideous, but she felt sorry for her. Surely something terrible had happened, and it's not what's on the outside that matters, it's what's on the inside. But what she didn't know is that what had been on the inside was not on the outside, so yeah. Oh, hello. Oh, the queen's voice was raspy now. What is it you're making there, dear? Oh, I'm just making some pies. Can I offer you a slice? Oh, that's so kind. What flavor of pie? Or some water? By this point, the little animals about, they had a very bad sense about this woman. They knew something was not right. And they began to swirl, the birds flying around and animals hissing at her and hiding and trying to get Snow White's attention. But Snow White wasn't listening. Oh, I have a strawberry pie and I have a rhubarb pie. You see, my friends, my roommates, they love pie, and I make all kinds of pies. And I have a peach pie and an apricot pie and a. Do you have an apple pie? Oh no, I don't. I don't have an apple pie. Oh, they'll be very disappointed. It's actually the apple pies they like the best. Oh, really? I didn't. Hmm. Well, lucky for you, I have some delicious apples. Oh, well, no, I couldn't ask you for one of your apples. Or I have to have several apples to make an apple pie, and I. Oh, won't you just have one? And if you like them, I can sell you a whole bushel. I don't know if I have any. Oh, wouldn't you please at least take this one apple? This one apple is a special apple. I don't. Snow White felt so uneasy. She didn't know what to say. If you take this apple, then maybe you'll give me a drink of water. Oh, oh no, you don't have to give me anything. I can give you water. No, I never take anything without first giving something in exchange. I couldn't take your water. And Snow White felt so sad for her. This poor woman, she was so proud she wouldn't accept a gift. Okay, all right, I'll take your apple, and here's some water for you. And she gave the water to the woman. And the old woman, creature, queen, witch began to cough and wheeze, and Well, Snow White ran right out and brought her right into the house. This had been the wicked queen's plan. She was inside now. Snow White didn't have a chance. Here's your apple. Snow White took the apple. It is a beautiful apple. And it's a magic apple. Magic? Snow White wasn't so sure that she believed in magic, but she was intrigued. What do you mean? Oh, it's a wishing apple. Anything your heart desires, you will get if you eat that apple. Anything my heart desires. I desire that. Well, I desire that my stepmother would love me and accept me. That's what I desire. The wicked, wicked queen cringed just a little bit at this, but did not change her. Her heart was made of stone, and she was too far gone to change. No pity for this little princess who had robbed her of the title of most beautiful in the land. She pushed every feeling of kindness that tried to creep up in her heart down, down, down. Go ahead then, take a bite. And Snow White looked at the apple. She breathed deeply and she sunk her teeth into that apple. And almost immediately, she began to wheeze and weave back and forth. And I felt kind of weak. She fell down to the ground. The apple rolled across the floor. That witch was so happy. She was so gleeful. She started to dance, but what she didn't think about is that she had transformed herself into a creature, probably a few hundred years old, that couldn't take that much excitement. And at that moment, she just exploded into 1,000 pieces. And she was shattered, just like that glass mirror she had broken. And all that was left was a crown. The crown that she had worn underneath her cloak before she had disguised herself as a poor old beggar. Well, the shattering noise alerted the dwarves, and back they came running, and they saw Snow White, and it didn't take them long to realize this was the doing of that wicked, wicked queen. They knew she was a witch. They began to cry, and they tried to resuscitate Snow White, and a funny thing happened. That piece of apple, well, it just touched her tongue, and it fell right out. And her eyes fluttered, and she woke up, and she was truly in shock at what had happened, but she was alive. And though she was so sad to realize that her stepmother was gone, she had no bitterness in her heart. She would have no heart of stone. And Snow White returned to the kingdom, and there she was crowned the queen. And she ruled over that kingdom for many, many years, a kind and a brave and a strong and beautiful queen. For her beauty had nothing to do with what was on the outside, but everything that came from the inside. And that is my story of Snow White and how she got her crown. Have a good evening. Sweet dreams.